back this camera up a little bit. All right, so I'll just wait for some folks to come in, and while I'm waiting, I shall have some tea. And I got my brand new Hello Kitty shirt on. My boyfriend and I went to Knott's Berry Farm a couple of days ago just to go for some dinner, and we did a walk around the shops afterwards because we were stuffed. So my guy went and picked me up a belated Christmas gift, I guess, but it's little Hello Kitty, of course, in my color red. So, anyhow, just waiting for folks to come in. While I'm waiting, I do have to leave early again today because today is acupuncture day, but I want to go over just a couple of like really interesting revelations this past couple of days, and then I want to show you kind of the remnants of a really awesome spell that I did, and working with Lakshmi and all that. And so once more people gets in here, I will talks about that. Let's see, and then what else? Oh yeah, just wanted to show you guys a couple of decks as well. Well, I guess I can go ahead and start talking about the revelations. So there are a few spirit guides that I run into every once in a while or talk to whenever I'm in like some really deep meditations, and one of them I really only like run into or talk to the spirit guide if I'm needing to, I don't know, it's like this weird place I go during meditation, you know, and if I want to go to that place, like he's the person that takes me to that place. And I just know him as like Ulag. You know, I called him Ulag, and I just spelled, in my brain it would be spelled Ulagh, like Ulag. And he's this, I think I've talked about him before, this like giant dude, like 6'4", 6'5", maybe taller, long red hair. He's got a red beard, kind of looks Scandinavian, Norse-ish, like, you know. Um, and then lately, how I've been picturing him, he looks exactly the same, but he's got like antlers, you know, kind of like a stag. And so that's very reminiscent to me of Cernanos. And so I decided, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and Google this guy's name because I think that this might be interesting. So I don't know, I was just like really called to like see if there is actually like something to this. What up, Green Owl? Good morning, New Age Lunatic. Wally is asleep in the other room, but I can probably take you guys in there later and go see Mr. Wally. Oh, and then by the way, before I continue on with my story, I have officially added my two moderators to my channel, so New Age Lunatic, and Sapphire Hand. So those two are able to like have control of like my comments and all of that, and basically moderate the channel and everything. So I really appreciate that they volunteered to help out. So thank you. So you guys have that control. You got the power. Like, Angawa, homie's got a power. So anyway, so I was talking about my spirit guide being kind of like this Cernanos kind of dude. Now that you know how I see him, so I decided to start Googling his name, which he goes by Ulag. So I said, okay, so I type into Google Ulag, how I think it would be spelled Ulagh. But then, you know, so then stuff about Ireland starts popping up. And it says like, did you mean Uladh? Like Ulad? And I was like, sure. But then I saw like spellings that went together, Ulagh and Uladh, you know, as being the same. And I was like, this is interesting. So then, looking into all of this, this goes back, like it's talking about like Middle Ages Ireland, that there was a place to the northeast, which was called the I'm mispronouncing it, but I'm just pronouncing it the way it looks. It looks like Ulaid, Ulaid. And, that's a place to the north. And then down at the south, or like southwest, is Munster. And Munster, Ireland is where, my mom's side of the family is from. And I was like, that's interesting. So then I start looking into this Ulaid, and then it says, well, Uladh is pronounced in Irish. It says Ulu. And I was like, oh, okay. So the place is called like Alud, something like that. But the people would be like the Alu, and, that's the name of the place. So it says, if you were the king, you'd be the Yori Alu. And I was like, so they said, the name of the place, or the place got its name in reference to the ancient peoples of Ireland. And so then I start looking into Cernunnos, and he is a Celtic deity of, animals and death and fruition and prosperity and things like that. So I was like, I know that's all kind of tying in somehow, but I just thought that was, really interesting, that his name and how he's showing me now is kind of all connected to kind of like that ancient Irish mythology, and it was an actual place. Little Che, what's up? And so yeah, I said, okay, so that was interesting, and I thought it was really interesting, whenever I have these meditations and these spirit guides come in and the names that they give me, I love to Google the names, like just in case. And there's always some interesting information that actually goes with them. Oh, you're trimming decks. Oh, I have a couple of decks that I would like to trim, but I'm so afraid of like not cutting it right or getting them all. So I don't know. Maybe that's a goal for 2018, is to finally trim a couple of the decks. You wouldn't have known until you Googled, but the name is so similar to what you found out. Yeah. So that's, and it's that kind of always happens when I Google some stuff. It's like, okay, and that's kind of relevant to what I'm seeing. I'm seeing this guy that's red hair, giant dude, red beard, and the way he's dressed is, kind of, I don't know, I'm not super up on, all the ancient cultures, but I was like, he could be Scandinavian, Norwegian, Celtic, like, but he's somewhere in that area. And yeah, and then, I Google his name, and yeah, that's an actual place. So I was like, oh, and I don't know if it's a place that still exists, but it says it did. Oh yes, I love when there's like validation. I know that I'm not like crazy. You had a wine-induced trimming mishap with the Marielle. Cut my 7 of Cups. Oh my gosh. No trimming decks while you're on the juice. So, okay. Second revelation. So this was all in the past couple of days. I was doing a prosperity spell, and the remnants of it are actually still on my altar. And okay, I felt the presence of Lakshmi, but that's not the first time I've felt that goddess before. She's popped in every now and then, and even when I do my goddess decks, and the Lakshmi card will come out, and I'm like, oh, that's cool. That's the best time to have a look at all the cards. Sometimes when, yeah, I have had a little bit of wine, that's kind of usually when I pull out all my decks. But so then I'm like, oh, well, I think I really want to incorporate Lakshmi into this prosperity spell that I'm doing. And it was a combination of 2 spells plus my own flavor. And that's kind of how I do things in my life, you know, like when I bake or anything, is like I like to take from different recipes and kind of make it my own, something that really resonates and feels powerful to me. So I did this prosperity spell, which by the way had like instantaneous results, and I was like, whoa. I amazed myself. um and so then I decide, you know, like I think I really want to take another look at Lakshmi, because I haven't paid too much attention to her as a goddess, but it kept kept feeling like she was like nudging me, like, hey, Lakshmi over here, like, what's up? And I'm like, okay. So I decide again to do a little Google search, and I decide to search like what are some offerings, you know, to give Lakshmi, because, you know, obviously she was helping me out with my prosperity spell, and I don't want to just, you know, call on some goddess and then say like, okay, peace out, you help me. You know, so I want to, you know, honor her, and I want to work with her a little bit more. So I'm looking under like things that she likes and blah blah blah, and it was stuff that I had already intuitively pulled for her, like for offerings, and I was like, oh, okay, well, I guess I already got you the stuff that you needed. That's cool. And I even pulled, I think she's still up there, one of the cards up there, and then I have Vishnu, which is her dude, with her, and it said that, you know, she has a couple of animals that are representative of her, and that is the owl and the elephant. And, you know, and oftentimes she's also seen with Lord Ganesha. And I was like, elephant, because I have been bombarded with elephant energy for I don't know, almost a month now. Like everywhere I look, there's like elephant everything. I go to Target, there's stuffed elephants like everywhere. There's elephant curtains. There's like elephants everywhere. Not pink elephants, by the way. And I'm like, where's like this? I'm like, it has to be Lord Ganesha, because that's the only elephant deity I know, and I don't know any other god or goddess that comes in like elephant form. So, you know, and that's just because I don't have a vast array of all the gods and goddesses. So I'm just like, and so when I think elephant, I automatically think Lord Ganesha. And I'm like, oh, okay, so that's Lord Ganesha hanging around. Christina's here. What's up? um, oh, so yeah, elephants for a lot of other people too. So it's like, yeah, so I was like, okay, but it never felt, what up? I am me, so you. What up? What up? But it never quite felt like him, you know, and I've worked with Lord Ganesha's energy and never really felt like his energy. So I was like, well, maybe it's just him and I'm just not feeling it right, you know, but that has to be him. But then when I saw that, like, this memory that I have like clicked into place from back in, it was 1988. And, when my family and I moved into my grandmother's house, you can't trim sober. I found this gold elephant. Oh, so are you? And I've always kept it. I figured it was like a good luck charm, this little golden elephant, and I actually have it on my altar. And the little golden elephant was inside my jewelry box that got stolen a couple of years ago when our house was broken into. Didn't really take anything else in our house, just specifically one of my jewelry box, and then was like, peace out. And the jewelry box fell open at some point, because a couple of things had fallen out along the way, one of those being my gold elephant. And I was like, oh, well, you know, at least my gold elephant didn't get stolen. So I've always just kept my gold elephant, like, now with my other jewelry. And then I realized somewhere inside of me, it clicked that that's Lakshmi, you know, and I was like, whoa. And that really felt like her, like the elephants I have been seeing all of a sudden in my brain. It was like tick, 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 tick. Click, 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 click. And it was like, and it felt like that resonated. It felt really powerful and true, like that's her. And then, you know, when it said her other animal is an owl, well, a couple of weeks ago, maybe it was a week and a half ago, my dude and I were at his best friend's hangar, over at a Gillespie Field in San Diego, and we're hanging out outside the hangar, and it's at nighttime. This like little white owl comes flying down, not too far from me, like maybe, I don't know, 30, 40, maybe 50 feet away, probably about 30, 40 feet away. And it silently lands. I watch this thing land, and I'm like, I've never seen really an owl outside of the zoo. So I've never seen a wild owl before, because you don't really see them in this area. I mean, you catch glimpses of them flying by, but I've never seen one just land and be there. And it was just staring at me. And I was like, and I'm trying to call my boyfriend over. I'm like, Brian, Brian, Brian. And he's like, what? I'm like, owl, owl. And he's like, huh? And he started to walk over, and then the owl flew away. But I was like, that was really interesting. I could have sworn it was staring at me. And then my boyfriend's like, okay, yeah. He says animals are always staring at you. And I'm like, well, but it felt like more than just an owl flew down. Like, because I work a lot with animal energy, and I was like, that felt like someone. And so after finding out that, owls and elephants are connected to Lakshmi, now it just felt like everything has clicked into place. It's like, Lakshmi, oh, holy hell, she's kind of always been with me. Let's see, sometimes things don't click straight away, and then something happens a week or so later, and it all falls into place and makes sense. Yeah, and I love when that happens. Because it's like, I guess it's Lord Ganesha. But then it was like, no, that was Lakshmi the whole time. And I'm like, so does that mean Lakshmi has been with me since I was a little kid? And it was so, now that I think about it, and I didn't really think about it before until obviously all these connections are made, that as I've been growing up, I've always seen like images of this Lakshmi, around. And this is even before I knew really, this is back when I'm still like watching She-Ra and stuff, and I'm not, practicing anything, you know, and yeah, and I'm like, oh my God, that goddess has totally been with me this whole time. So I'm gonna be like physically working with like Lakshmi now. I'm gonna make it, a thing, in 2018, to really, really like get to know this goddess. And I'm like, so, because if I think about my life, yeah, there's a lot of crappy stuff that's happened in my life. I had a pretty crappy childhood, and there's a lot of crappy things that happen, but I've never fallen flat on my face. Like I've always been, a pretty strong person. I've always picked myself up. I've always been proactive, and I've always felt like there's been prosperity in my life. Not always money, but I've always had friends who've looked out for me. Friends who've come out of the woodwork when I actually truly needed them. When I actually have really needed something, like I really need a job, it's like all these people that have remembered me for being kind to them, or remembering, how I made them laugh, or, and I don't realize how many people notice me and remember me. And it's like when I really need help, they come out of the woodwork. People just come out and they help me, and I've always had help along my path. And to me, that's prosperity. It's this abundance of aid and help and beautiful energy. And so and to me, I see that as being connected to Lakshmi. It's like she's always been like kind of helping me along the way, and I never even knew it until now. Oh my gosh, you guys, revelations. And so yeah, so I have some offering stuff up to her, up there for her, and yeah, I want to get to know her more. I want to I really want to work with her more. And I don't know, it's like, I don't know, kind of an emotional thing when it's like you finally figure out that there's somebody who, I mean, everybody has a spiritual team, but when you realize that there's somebody who's always been there, and they've never really made themselves known, because they're not a big flashy like, hey, look at me, I'm helping you out. It's just like a behind the scenes gentle energy of, I'll never let you fall flat on your face. No matter how bad things get for you, I'm always going to make sure that there's somebody there, or some coincidences that happen to help you out. Oh, Sherry Bug's here, what's up? So yeah, those were my hold on, look at my watch watch here. Those were my Deuce revelations. I am very excited about it and bouncy. So yeah, those were like the two big things I really wanted to get out to you guys. Oh, my little calendar is letting me know that acupuncture starts at 10. Yes, I know. It's 9:34. Good morning, pal. Thank you, Mickey. So anyway, so I'll probably leave in like 10 or 15 minutes. Um, but how's everybody's Saturday going? Besides me like jumping around and being all super stoked about this. But St. Jude walks with you. You know, and I think that's also another really good discussion. That I don't think that people have to be connected to a certain religion to have certain energies or an energy that embodies something from that religion. Like I'm not Hindi, you know, I don't practice, Hinduism. Was just out shooting a new handgun. Nice. All right, Sherry Buck. I will say I'm deadly with a shotgun, double barrel. But even though I am not, out, going to Hindu temples and really involved in the religion, there are deities from that religion that I work with. I try to incorporate as much of their religion, with them as possible when I work with them. So Noah's, not just saying, oh, hey, Ganesha, you're now going to be working with me like this. Although I think some people can do that. Oh, you love your bow too? I am looking at a crossbow that's sitting on the other side of this camera. But I so wish I could shoot guns. Darn UK rules. um, oh wow, oh wow. Um, yeah, yeah. If you resonate with something or someone, like go ahead and work with them. And I also work with Jesus energy. And I was raised, actually, after a certain part, I was raised Catholic. I was actually raised without a religion when I was a lot younger. And then, because I was allowed to kind of do what I wanted. And then my mom found Jesus and decided that we needed to be raised Catholic. But although I don't practice a Catholic faith or a Christian faith, I still like working with like Mother Mary, who I also see as like Gaia and just kind of like the universal mother. I like working with Jesus every now and then. But for me, when I'm working with Jesus, he likes working with Ganesha and Shiva. So when I'm needing some like powerful help, it's Shiva, Jesus, and Ganesha. Like they all, like the three, they all work with me. You guys are all talking about guns over there. um, on a side note, since some of you guys are talking about ammo and all that, my guy and I have never bought guns, but his best friend thinks that like manly guys give each other guns or weapons or something for Christmas. And so one year he got a Glock from his best friend. He got a one of those like, I don't know, assault rifles or whatever. I don't know. It's next to the washer and dryer. He got one of those for Christmas one year. He got him the crossbow that's over there. And then I think he gave him a gift certificate for the amount for a shotgun. And I'm like, I want to work with the shotgun. So it's like, I'm like, why does Bobby keep giving you guns? And he's like, because they're cool. And I'm like, oh, okay. I grew up shooting them at my grandparents' house, but mostly that was for like defense against predators, because they had kind of like a mini farm and stuff. But it was like, okay. And so my dude gets his friend like, what did he get him? He got him like a hunting knife. His friend, by the way, is like a total pansy. Like he would never go hunting. He would never, not hunting. When I say hunting, I don't mean like go and shoot or kill some animals, because that breaks my heart and I don't like that. But like like I just see like, like chopping down plants and stuff like that, like hunting. To me, that's when I use the word hunting. I'm a tiger girl, but also have lots of other things. I grew up and still live in a farm, so I learned early as well. Yeah, and yeah, I spent all my summers with my grandparents, so like I had to learn kind of how to be kind of like a farm girl. um, yeah, so like he got him. I think he usually just gets him knives. He gets him knives, all sorts of knives, like big Rambo looking type of knives, like ridiculous knives. And he always buys a stocking to put the knives and Ruger, not Tiger. I was like, you're a tiger girl. Husband and his friend is the same way. Yeah, yeah. So like he gets him like he buys this like ridiculous knife that's like this big, and I'm like, what the heck is Bobby gonna do with that? Like chop up his steaks with it? And he's like, it's just ridiculous. That's why you get your friends this, because it's ridiculous. So he puts it in he buys a stocking, always puts like whatever knife he's buying his buddy like in the stocking, and fills it with like candy and like gift certificates to like a steakhouse or something. And then like that's his Christmas gift every year. And then my boyfriend's Christmas gift is always like a gun in a stocking, or a gift certificate for that gun in a stocking. And I'm just like, and so I decided to join in just one year. I didn't get him a gun, but I got him something called Blast Knuckles. And I saw it in like a men's magazine. It was like, if your dude likes Batman, he would like this. Yes, man gifts. And it says that Batman would have this on his utility belt. And well, okay, my dude loves Batman. So what it is, it's like brass knuckles, but it's a taser. So so if somebody tried to attack you, you would put this thing on. All you have to do is touch them, and it's a taser. It's basically knuckle tasers. So it's called Blast Knuckles. And so yeah, he has Blast Knuckles in the nightstand. And what did his friend give him another year? There was another year he didn't give him a gun. He got him it's a Brazilian police baton, but it's a taser baton. So it's like, like a hitting baton, but it's a taser too, and it's really loud and zappy, and like you turn off the lights, it's really electrical, and it's really loud. So we don't turn it on in the house or outside the house. It just kind of sits in the bedroom, because it scares Wally. And at the time when we got it, it was when we had Presley, and Presley was scared of that really loud noise. So, but yeah, it's what the Brazilian police uses to subdue like rioters and things like that. They just hit them with this like taser baton. I have no idea how Bobby got that, and I'm like. Bobby's one of his like he went to school with his best friend, and like they went to high school together. Well, he has two best friends, and all three of them like went to the same high school together. Coincidentally, the high school I now teach at. And all three of them went on to be very successful. Bobby went on to be very, very successful. He's like a venture capitalist. So he lives on the hill in La Jolla, and he's got a buttload of cash. So he always finds these like unique gifts to give my guy for Christmas, and I have no idea how he gets some of these things. This year though, not weapons. He didn't give him weapons this year. He got him a drift car experience. So my boyfriend loves cars. Like he's a huge car dude. Like he could hear a car go by and he would tell you, oh, that was a V6 Mustang that just went by. You can tell. I'm like, what? Or that was a V8. Or you could tell that was a 1989. Or it's like, what the heck? Or you can tell that was an 87 Lambo that just went by. And I'm like, how do you know this? Like he can just hear. And he can also hear when there's something wrong with an engine. Like we call him the car god, which is why I think I have the best running like Nissan Frontier on the planet. By the way, it has racing oil in it, and a racing starter, because you need that in a 2004 Nissan Frontier. And he keeps replacing things on the truck so the truck always looks brand new. Like when my, yes, the car whisperer, like when there was a crack in one of my taillights, which was there when I bought it used, like that just really bothered him. So he bought me brand new taillights. And then the headlights started getting a little foggy looking, and he didn't like that either. He thought it aged the vehicle. So he bought brand new headlights. And this is what I get for Christmas. I get car parts. Yeah, he can just hear that stuff. Yeah, so let's see. What did I get this year for Christmas? This year for Christmas, I got visors for my truck, and I got a new the plastic cowl. It's the black plastic part that's on the outside of your car in front of your windshield, kind of where your windshield wipers are. Well, there's a little bit of overspray that's been bothering him since I bought the truck back in '05, used, and and they had reshot the truck when they were ready to sell it, and so there's a little bit of overspray on some of the black plastic on the truck, and that's been really bothering him. So he's buying all these different panels for the truck so that they can be swapped out, and most of the stuff he can do himself, or if it's something beyond his scope of expertise, he takes it to our dude Steve, who owns a body shop about a mile from my house. And so it's like, hey, we need you to put this on the truck. And so if there's anything wrong that goes with my truck, like the starter had just gone out, my boyfriend will go buy the starter, give it to Steve, and Steve will put it in. And that's also a cheaper way of like getting your car fixed, is if you take it to the mechanic and the mechanic says, okay, well, at least somebody who trusts and is not just telling you a bunch of crap's wrong when it's not. But Steve's a good guy, so he'll be like, starter's gone out, okay, so we'll order the starter, we'll give the starter to Steve, and then we just pay him for the labor, so that way we don't have to pay the third party charge of like going and getting a starter. We just go get it ourselves straight from the dealership. And so that's how I get stuff fixed really cheaply on my truck, but it's like really good work. So I think for this last starter with labor and everything, and after us buying the starter, I think it was like $300 for me to fix that. Plus he fixed a couple of other things on the truck, but that's a lot better than what some people do when their vehicles go awry. So yes, and then my guy was looking at the mats of my truck last night, and he was like, you have like a wear spot in the driver's side of your mat. He says, how many times have I told you, don't wear your high heels, when you're driving to work. You got to take your driver's high heel off and drive without a shoe on that foot, because you put a hole, or you put a wear spot in the mat. And I'm like, okay, but sometimes it's weird to drive without my shoe on, and so sometimes I forget and I drive with my high heel on. He's like, oh well, we'll have to buy you new mats. I'm like, so now my truck is getting new floor mats because there's a wear spot on my mat. Yes, buy a new mat. Okay, I'm going to be needing to, whose truck? It's my truck. This is my truck. Yes, great mechanic, reduce stress. Yes, so he's always, and he does all the oil changes on my truck. We usually take my truck over to the hangar. That way we can kind of prop the truck up, and then he just changes my oil all the time, and it's literally racing oil. And so he does, I don't know, he does all sorts of stuff with that truck, and it's literally like a really good running truck. I mean, at least a Nissan Frontier is not a fast truck by any means, but it's got pep for the V60-ness that it is. Oh, and then they've been, I think I told you guys, like he and his two buddies plus a friend of one of his friends went in on a Hellcat, which is a 700 horsepower Challenger, or it's 707 horsepower, sorry. And it's what's it, eight gears? Yeah, it's an 8-gear car. And so the way they work it, they all went in on this car, and everybody gets a week with it each, and they just kind of keep it at the hangar. And so my one of their friends lives in Hawaii, so but he kind of like destroys vehicles, so they're like, okay, as long as he doesn't visit very often, it's okay to have him go in on this car. And so my we had the car last night, and my guy and his friends, they're really smart. So it's like, yes, you have this powerful vehicle, but it's really dumb to just go like racing around when there's other like vehicles on a freeway, or there's other cars around, because if something happens, you're endangering other people. So they don't do that kind of stuff, like zipping it around if there's other cars and there could possibly, something bad could happen. Never do it on a curve, because you could lose control, of the vehicle, or the vehicle could do something that you don't like. So like they're pretty, I don't know, they've been like working with fast cars like all their lives, and so it's so interesting how they can tell you like exactly what a car is going to do, or if this happens, this is what's going to happen, and it's I don't know, it's just so interesting. And I was asking him, for a car that's got such wide tires, it's got a wide base. Why is it that when you do step on the gas, it feels like the car's like breaking away? I said, somebody could easily wreck this thing if they don't know what they're doing. Like, that's kind of scary. And he says, it's a large car. He says, like, the car is it's a regular person's car that's been souped up, basically. And he says, when you take a car that's heavy like this, and it's got all the traction controls, and it's got this and it's got that, and you add all this horsepower to it, it has trouble staying on the ground and like really trying to control it. So he says it's not a handling type of car. Like, you never want to like, oh, I'm gonna go slide this vehicle or whatever. He says, like, you don't do that with this type of car. Like, this car is meant to go straight and fast on an open road with like nothing around that you could possibly hit, or anyone that you could possibly hit. He says, like, that's what the car is for. And it goes very short distances. You don't want to step on the pedal and hold it for like 2 minutes, because you'll be at like 200 miles an hour. He says, and it gets up to like, in just a few seconds, I think we were like, it gets up to like 120, and just like 1001, 1002, 1003, 120. You're like, what the heck? Like, oh my gosh, like somebody could actually kill themselves in this car. But yeah, and he let me drive it once, and that was pretty fun. So yeah, they're pretty smart with vehicles. They don't like to do stupid stuff, in their cars, and so I always feel pretty safe when, we're driving, and he knows a car well enough. It's like, okay, we don't do this with this car, 'cause that's safe. But anywho, I really have to get off to acupuncture, and sorry we got off on a car tangent. It is very exciting, yes. I do love riding around with him in a car. Back when we were, oh, gosh, I gotta go, but back when he and I were just buddies back in college, which was like 18 years ago now. He had a girlfriend back then. I had my various D-bag boyfriends, and whenever I was having yes, I am looking forward to my acupuncture. Whenever I was having a bad day, or something wrong with my boyfriend or whatever, he'd be like, you want to take a ride in the Mustang? And he had this like souped up 1990 Mustang. Yes, thank you. And so he would take me out at night in the Mustang. We just go for a short drive. But his favorite thing to do was when we'd pull out of get into a part of the parking lot at the college where there weren't any cars, he would step on it and and kind of twist the steering wheel, so that it's called a Scandinavian flick, where the back end flicks out, and he would be like, then he'd flick it sideways, and then we go out on the because he kind of does know how to drift. And I was like, and so he'd get me just laughing, and I would just have so much fun. And And then, of course, I'd always be like, man, I'm like, my best friend's hot. I'm like, no, no, you can't like your best friend. Like, this sucks. Like, don't do that. So, like, I was always like trying to make sure, like, don't like him, don't like him. And, like, make sure that you don't look at him like that. Like, he's just your buddy. Yeah. And then, like, 6 years later, we wound up together. But anyway, I'm off to acupuncture, y'all. You guys have a wonderful Saturday. Thank you for jumping in just very briefly with me, listening to my revelations. And I did mention in the little title of this video that there would be a sleeping puma. So we're gonna sign off with a Wally. So let me flick this around. And Wally and I are wishing you guys a happy Saturday. Bye. See ya. Wally, say goodbye. Oh, oh yes. Oh, it's so rough being a puma. Oh, yeah. All right. Bye, guys.